What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Kayman and I'm back with a brand new video. In today's video, I'll be covering my Game Week 15 team review as well as my Game Week 16 team selections, aka the free hit chip is actually active, guys. So we'll be covering the free hit draft for this week. We're also going to be discussing the AFCON transfers, and a lot of us been given 5 free AFCON transfers. We're going to discuss what to do with them, what are the players that are going to AFCON. We're also going to be discussing what are the best Timber / Calafuri as well as MUNOZ replacement. As we know, Calafuri is suspended, Timber is also a doubt, and MUNOZ is definitely out with a knee injury. So we've got a lot to cover this week. So without further ado, let's dive in. So first and foremost, as you guys can see, I actually did have a small green arrow for Game Week 15, but ultimately Petrovic came with a surprising clean sheet. I did not expect that. And he's got 7 points. I think he was on for like 3 bonus points, but until Sanchez just made like 3 or 4 wordy saves. So fair enough to Sanchez. He, I think, racked up all 3 BPS. It was actually a 0-0 for Chelsea Bournemouth. I didn't see that personally. Listen, I would take that with all due respect. Like, Bournemouth have been quite disappointing as of recently, but for them to get a clean sheet, I'll take it. O'Reilly clean sheet. I expected an attack and return, but still he got a clean sheet at least. Timber did end up getting a DEFCON points after them conceding 2 goals to Aston Villa, and they did lose, and Arsenal did drop 3 points, which is a bit of a surprise, to be honest, because they've been quite impressive this season. And they're, I think, leading the league now by only 2 points. So it might be a season where they're bottling again, but I digress. And then you got Thiago, another absolute shocker of a move that I've made. I went with Thiago instead of Guehi in game week, I believe in game week 13, where I bought him in for, I think, Tottenham, as well as I bought him for Burnley. So those 2 games, he's actually been quite disappointing. He didn't get DEFCON, and he also ended up considering the last minutes versus Burnley. So Thiago has been an absolute flop of a transfer. And then you got Semenyo, who actually did come in for me for MUNOZ, who was unfortunately did missed out due to a knee injury. And Semenyo should have actually held. He did score versus Chelsea just like he did with Sunderland, which ended up being offside thanks to Evan Olsen. And this is actually back-to-back game weeks now where Evan Olsen essentially, prevented Semenyo from getting a brace. At this point, this guy's on a fraud a lot. I don't know what he's doing, but he's costing Semenyo a hell of years. And then Mbeumo, he got a return, thankfully, but he didn't look that good on the eye test. He ended up getting 2 bonus points, though, luckily. And to be honest with you, it was just a tapping goal. Ultimately, he had a lot more better chances to score. And I just think he's not been clinical enough as of recently, but at least he got a return. And then he got Foden, and this guy bagged another brace. This is 3 weeks in a row where he got back-to-back brace. I mean, if you're not on him, you should be on him as soon as possible. This guy's on the hottest run of all time right now, just like he did last season as well. And then you got Bukayo Saka, who got 4-pointer again. This guy is just an absolute fraud, guys. This star boy is a fraud. This guy's only getting 4 points, 5 points. Rice is outscoring week in, week out. It's quite unfortunate. Like, I'm paying 10 million and this guy's not giving me those braces that I expect. But it is what it is. The strikers were quite disappointing. Mateta got hooked in the 60th minutes. Thiago, I think, he was quite disappointing as well. He didn't do anything versus Spurs, and Haaland did end up blanking versus Sunderland, which many of us didn't see coming, to be honest. It's like when you take on Haaland, he turns into Super Saiyan, but when you basically go with the template and everyone caps him, he kind of disappoints sometimes. So yeah, overall, 53 points, small green arrow, can't complain too much. So let's now move into the key players that are injured / suspended for game week 16. So first we got on the list is MUNOZ, who is confirmed to be out, and he's probably out until, I think, February. That's what it says, due to the fact that he's going to go for a surgery on his knee. And that's a bit of a big blow for Palace. I think they're already as a thin squad as it is, and they got so many games coming up in this December period where they're playing in the Conference League, of course, and they're playing Premier Leagues as well as the Carabao Cup. They got so much games. Are they going to regress? I think they slightly will, due to the fact that they don't have enough depth. I think Klein will come in, who's like 3.8 million in the FPL in terms of his price, but ultimately he's nowhere near what MUNOZ is. So I do think it's going to be a big miss, and Palace could definitely struggle defensively as well as offensively, because he's an absolute animal going forward as well as defensively. And then you got Uran Timber. He was not part of the squad for the Champions League game versus Club Brugge, but he did travel with the squad. But Arteta did say that the reason why he was not part of the squad, which Arteta said, is that they both had issues from the weekend. Both really had bad kicks, apparently. For Timber, it was too early. And for Calafuri, we have to manage to see if he can do some minutes tonight. But it seems like both Calafuri and Timber are a doubt. But if you ask me, I think if he did train, I think he may be just be at rest. But again, we don't know. So it's a bit of a doubt. So if you are maybe on him, I would start him. But transferring him, maybe I would hold off. But in terms of Calafuri, he's suspended. He did pick up his 5th yellow card. So he's suspended for Wolves, which is a tough one, to be honest, for the owners. So I do think he's a hold. I wouldn't sell him. Maybe find a different way to get a second Arsenal defender if you can, or maybe an attacker like Saka or Rice. But otherwise, I think he's still a hold, especially if you got good bench depth. And then you got, of course, last one is Gakpo, who is actually injured. We did find out in the Champions League he's not part of the squad, so that does increase the minutes for the likes of Ekitike as well as Isak. So let's now move on to the AFCON transfers, 5 AFCON transfers that we got, and what are the key players that will be missing during AFCON that we're not going to have available for our FPL team. So at first, we got Dango Tara from Brentford, who actually does have very good fixtures for the next couple of weeks. It would have been a nice punt, but unfortunately, he's going to AFCON from game week 17 onwards. And then you got Lau Foster from Burnley, which is not relevant, to be honest, because not many people do on him. And then the next one is Ismail Sarr from Crystal Palace. He was quite popular, to be honest, at the start of the season. A lot of us did own him, and he did have very good fixtures, but he was quite disappointing. But he'll be going to AFCON as well, so he'll be a big miss for Crystal Palace. Another popular one is Ilman Ndiaye from Everton, who is a big player for them, to be honest. I think he's also going to be a big miss, and he's also played for Senegal as well, so he'll be going to AFCON. And they also have Alex Iwobi for Fulham, is another big one. I think Fulham fans are going to, would have loved to have him during this time. And Liverpool are going to be missing Mohamed Salah. We're not going to get into whether they'll be really missing him or not, but yeah. Manchester United, we're going to be missing Brandon Mbeumo for sure. We also have Ahmad, who's not on the list, but Ahmad as well as Brandon Mbeumo will be going to AFCON, which is going to be a big miss for us personally. I think we're going to struggle as well. Manchester City are going to be missing Ryan Aït-Nouri as well as Omar Marmoush, so that does increase the minutes for the likes of Foden, as well as Cherki. And then you got Newcastle United, probably Yohan Wissa, which he did come out and say he probably is not going to go. But again, that's not 100% confirmed yet, but he's likely not going to the AFCON. For Nottingham Forest, you got Ola Aina, and for West Ham, you got Diouf as well, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka going to AFCON as well. For Wolves, it's going to be Agbadu. So yeah, these are the guys, I think, the key players that I'll be missing. I didn't have every single players that are going to AFCON, but these are the key assets that, you know, we may have owned in the past or maybe looking at in the future. So if you already have these assets, potentially you can consider selling these guys, or even, you know, potentially plan on selling them in the coming weeks. So let's now look at the best defenders to buy from game week 16 to 20 onwards. First, you guys can see these graphics, beautiful graphics that we have. Shout out to RobT FPL and Solio for this graphic that they shared in terms of the data for the players, in terms of like the expected points for the next, I'd say 4 weeks. For Timber, O'Reilly, Collins, they look very strong. I would have to say though, I'm quite surprised that Collins is that high in terms of he's got 4.49, 4.468. I think the fixtures are very good for them, but it is quite surprising the fact that he's quite high up there in terms of predicted points. So if you're looking at a defender this week, which I think a lot of people are because of all these, suspensions with injuries as well. We also have Senesi. I missed another one that's a doubt as well. So Senesi, Timber, Calafiori, you got MUNOZ. So there's a lot of, defenders crisis going on right now in terms of injuries. A lot of people have Virgil. Maybe they're not too keen on keeping him. They maybe want to sell him as well. So if you guys are looking at defenders market this week, I think one of the ones that stands out for me personally is Anderson from Fulham. He's got a very good entry point with the Burnley. And then you got Forest and West Ham followed up with Palace. I think he's a very good buy this week. He's good for DEFCON. He got a good, chance for a clean sheet as well. And I think Fulham are a team, they don't concede too many goals as well. So I think even if he does concede one goal, you've got a floor of a 4-pointer, and the ceiling could be up to 8 to 10 points. So I do like Anderson as one of my favorite options. And Arsenal defenders, yes, I would have said to sell Timber or Calafiori, but I just think if you can be patient 1 week, I think they will definitely become an option again. So I'll try to say hold if you have Timber, but definitely don't buy him. And if you have Calafiori, I'll also say hold if you can somehow, bench him this week. But if you got, because you got 5 transfers, if you wanted to do, sideways move and sell him to maybe Skelly or go to Hincapie for 1 week, which I don't recommend, but if you wanted to burn a transfer, you had no other 5s to put out, then fair enough, you can go to Calafiori to Hincapie or something like that, which is fair. But I personally think I'll just hold them off and maybe double up on them if possible. Because I do think both Timber and Calafiori are going to be good options moving forward, because they do have good fixtures even from 17 to 19. And then you got, I would say Bournemouth D is a hold, but I wouldn't buy. I think Senesi, wait for the news for Friday press conference to see if he's available. If he's available, definitely hold him, because he does have Burnley as well as Brentford coming up. Chelsea defense is not a buy. I think they're an option on free hit, but I would not be buying. I don't like their fixtures from game week 17 onwards. Everything is nice, but there's 17 they play Newcastle, Villa, Bournemouth, and City. I'm not a fan of those fixtures personally. However, Everton defense, I think the entry point is in 18. I think that's a good entry point, whether you want to get Keane or Tarkowski. And then I'll say Liverpool D, I think if you wanted to sell, you could sell this week for sure. City defense could be a buy this week. If you're looking for a defender this week to sell MUNOZ, I do think O'Reilly is a very good option. Whether you got O'Reilly or Anderson, I do think I like those options much better than whether it be Brighton D or even Brentford defense. I do think City with O'Reilly, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, there's at least an attacking threat from him. And he did score in the Champions League as well. Newcastle D, yes, I think if you can, if you want to, but ultimately, I don't see the upside this week. I do think it's a bit of a tough fixture for them away. Sunderland is a promoted team, but again, it's a derby, so I don't particularly see a clean sheet there. And then followed up with Chelsea United, I also don't see a clean sheet, to be honest. But I think the entry point could be in 19 for them. But yeah, that'll be it for the defenders. Let me know what defenders would you be buying this week. Which are the ones that you like. I still think Arsenal and I would say even Fulham and Palace, I still think those are the teams I'll probably target. But yeah, let's now look at some bit more data from RobT FPL for projected goals as well as clean sheet odds for from game week 16 to 21 onwards. So now you have first Man City from game week 16. They look like they're on the top of the ticker in terms of projected goals: 1.8, 2.8, 2.0, 2.1, 2.1, 2.4. It's ridiculous how high they are. I think Arsenal also quite up there as well in terms of goals. Both the big dogs like City, Arsenal, Liverpool are up there. United are surprisingly also quite up there as well. I think we're going to suffer the attacking wise, especially in 17, 18. I can see us struggling versus the likes of Villa away as well as Newcastle. I'm a bit surprised with the numbers that we got there. But again, maybe it's due to the fixture as well from 19 onwards. In terms of Chelsea, I think Chelsea is this week, but I think the entry point for them to jump back on them is maybe around 19 or 20 onwards. But for now, I wouldn't probably jump on their attack. It's a 1 week punt if you were to go there right now. Everything is a decent fixture for free hitters, but I'm not necessarily sure if you want to buy right now, especially because Palmer is just back from an injury. You gotta let him build up some fitness and get some minutes under his belt before you jump there. However, I'll be buying City attackers, Arsenal attackers, whether it be Rice, Saka. I'll also be looking to, United, obviously Bruno Fernandes if you wanted to buy, but I do think the entry point for him is in 19 because Bournemouth, as much as it's, okay, they like to concede chances and maybe, he's going to get DEFCON, but I don't see a massive hole for him in that fixture. But again, he's got so many risky points, so I don't necessarily hate if you were to go there. Brentford attack, I would love for Dango Ouattara to be an option as a punt to buy. However, he's going to AFCON, as I said already, and Shada is also suspended for game week 16, so they can't really get into that entry point either. But maybe from 17 onwards, you can punt on him with all these free transfers that you have. I do think Villa assets are, again, another 1 week punt as well. They're playing West Ham away, but they do have a midweek game where they're playing in the Europa, and then they play on Thursday, and it's a Thursday-Sunday game, so 2-day rest. I'm not a big fan of that a bit of in terms of a rotation there. I don't necessarily think any of these guys are going to get too much minutes except for Rodgers. Overall, I think the teams to target are pretty obvious this week. It's the City and Arsenal and probably Liverpool are the teams to target. And of course, if you wanted to get United, I said if you didn't have any at all. But obviously, I wouldn't jump on Mbima or Ahmad right now, as I said, due to the fact that they're going on AFCON. In terms of clean sheet odds, again, it's going to be the same thing. And I'll say City and Arsenal up there. I'd say, of course, Fulham should be up there as well. They have pretty good odds this week to keep a clean sheet. I would even give a shout out to Palace as well. I think, obviously, Palace this week is not ideal because they're playing City. But even after that, they have decent fixtures. They play at home. They got Leeds away. They have Fulham as well as, I think they play Everton, is it? But yeah, they've got some good fixtures coming up as well. That'll be it for the projected goals as well as clean sheets. Let's now look at my free hit draft for game week 16. So this I'm lining up for game week 16 in terms of free hit. I'm lining up with Sanchez, who's got Everton at home, and Lewis Kelly with Wolves at home, and Anderson got Burnley away, and Cucurella has got Everton at home. I'm going to double Chelsea defense. I'm not too convinced with that, I'll be honest with you. I may change the keeper, maybe go to Martinez just to, spread my risk a little bit. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. But in terms of the defense, it does look strong, but maybe not double up on Chelsea because they've been quite poor as recently in terms of their form. And Everton does seem to be, ticking along in terms of getting a couple of points of good teams as of recently. So I think the defense is strong. In terms of the Arsenal defender, I'll have one of them, but I'm not sure which one yet. It could be Timber if I get news that he's 100% fit. It could be White if I can get indication that he's obviously Saliba is out, so I know that he's going to start, so he's got the highest ceiling. One thing for sure is Lewis Kelly is going to be probably nailed due to the fact that Calafiori is injured. That's why I do have him there currently, and he's probably the cheapest one as well. Going to the midfield, I do have Semenyo as well as Saka, Eze, and Palmer. I'm going with a double Arsenal attack. After watching Wolves versus United, I can see Arsenal scoring at least 4, like minimum 4 goals at the Emirates. And I do think they need a bounce back game due to the fact that they did drop points to Villa, so they need to come back with an answer and build up that confidence and build that momentum back as well. In terms of differentials, I think Palmer is a differential, my free, same as Eze as well. And Saka, I think a lot of people are going to have anyways. And to be honest, the captaincy should be on Saka as well. It's currently on Haaland, but it's probably going to be on Saka for sure. But the differential, as I said, Palmer, who to be honest, doesn't look to be on currently in the best of fitness-wise. And he only got like, 60-something odd minutes versus Leeds. But he didn't look the best himself. And he also didn't play in the midweek. But the good thing is he did get the rest. He didn't play in the Champions League in the midweek, so he got the rest. And I do think they need him. Like, they've been struggling. They dropped points in the last, I think they drew or they lost the last 3 games as well. So they need to pick up some points right now. So I do think Palmer needs to come back to the team and start to give them a bit of a boost. And I think Palmer did have a very good performance versus Everton in the past where he scored 4 goals as well. So I'm expecting maybe he can replicate something like that. And then Semenyo is the one I'm not 100% sure. That spot could either be Dango, it could be Rodgers, it could be Mbeumo, it could be Bruno, it could be any of those guys. But I do want a couple of differentials in my team, and that includes Cole Palmer and Ekitike. And I mean, what better, like, these guys are like playing for elite teams, and what better to punt on these guys when no one is on them, when they're playing, when they have decent fixtures, not amazing fixtures, but decent fixtures, and you got them as at the very low EO. So I'm hoping both Palmer and Ekitike will return the favor, as well as Ezra as well. Semenyo, that's the one spot I got to think about. If I go for Mbemo, I'm just going to switch out Kukurea to Chalaba, and I can get to Mbemo quite easily. But I'm just thinking, like, the way Semenyo's been playing the last 2 to 3 weeks, like, he's just been extremely unlucky not to return. And I think he's due. So that is particularly why I'm considering having him. In terms of why I have Haaland is because Salah is not an option on free hit, because I don't think he's going to play. If Salah, there's a league that he's going to start, then I'm potentially going to take on Haaland. Maybe remove Haaland and go for a Gu, and then go for a fifth midfielder with Salah. But if Salah is not going to play, I think there's just no point not to have Haaland. Like, you might as well. The guy's in a generational form right now. So it does make sense. But the only dilemma, as I said, is between whether to go for Semenyo or go for United mid. And that's the one that I'm going to have to, spend a lot of my time on. Maybe Ekitike for Raul, but I just want to have that one Liverpool attacker at least when they're playing at home. But yeah, that Fulham versus Burnley game could be cagey. I'm not sure exactly who's going to come out on top. Fulham don't exactly have the greatest record versus Burnley, so that's why I don't want to go too heavy on them either. I do have Anderson for DEFCON at least. So at least, even if he considers, I get that, a bare minimum. But yeah, overall, I think the squad does look strong. Let me know what you guys think. Who would you have on free hit? As I said, there's quite a few spots that are not locked yet. I think the Skelly spot could be like a White or any Arsenal defender. I think the Kukurea spot could be a Cash, or it could be a Chalaba, for example. And I think the Semenyo spot could be a United mid, potentially, or even Rodgers or Dango. It could be another punt. I'm not sure yet, but make sure to tune into my deadline stream. But this is what I got for now currently. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to smash the like button. Make sure to leave a comment down below. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.